G'day folks, in this video I'm going to be comparing a spinning reel to a baitcaster reel, the pros and cons for each type of reel. Now this video is going to be based on Murray cod fishing, but the same rules apply. In other words, it doesn't matter what you're really fishing for, I'm going to find the same pros and cons for most of them, although the video is primarily based on Murray cod fishing. Right, now we could get a bit of wind noise here, and if you do I apologise. I've got my my dead cat, which is a wind protector, on my microphone to try and eliminate the wind noise, but it is quite windy. But anyway, let's get started. Right, this is a spinning reel. I call it a spinning reel because a lot of time we use it for spinning, I guess, and because the reel itself spins. Now in the Murray cod circles, most people prefer to cast lures with a baitcaster reel. Why is that? In a nutshell, baitcaster reels are far more accurate and you've got more control over where you land your lure. But there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot to take into consideration, and I have got a few notes here on my phone, and I'm going to read through these notes on my phone while I run through some of the pros and cons of using a spinning reel for Murray cod fishing. Right, the pros to using a spinning reel. The most obvious pro of the lot is less line tangles. Because you don't have to worry about thumbing the spool, you don't get backlashes, you don't get bird nests, you can just cast and retrieve all day and you don't get tangles. That is the most obvious and most important aspect to take into consideration when choosing whether to go with a spinning reel or a baitcaster reel. These don't tangle nearly as often as baitcaster reels do. They don't require as much skill to use, they're much easier, and they still do the job. So that's the first pro to using a spinning reel. The next one down is easier to use, which I've pretty much just covered. It's much easier to use because you haven't got to worry about thumbing the brakes, adjusting casting knobs and whatnot. Something I like about these reels, and a lot of people won't agree with me on this, but I like the anti-reverse. It's got a really good anti-reverse system. A lot of, all baitcaster reels don't have the anti-reverse, which means you've got to lie solely on the drag. And I know most of you already do that. I'm a bit of an outcast in that regard. I made a video last year about the anti-reverse. Spinning reels have that anti-reverse, so you can just click it around underneath and take the pressure off. I like that when I'm fighting big fish. I've never really been too bothered by it until I hooked a 98cm cod a few years ago, and I was using a baitcaster and I was thinking, geez, I wish I had anti-reverse. And then I got a 62cm yellow belly up at Lake Hume, and it was pulling, and I kept expecting it to pull the hook out of the fish's mouth or snap the line, and I'm trying to adjust the drag tight and loose as I went, and I was thinking, gee, I wish I just had an anti-reverse switch. So I really like the fact that spinning reels have an anti-reverse switch because baitcasters don't. So that's another pro to using a spinning reel. This isn't a pro so much, this is just more a personal thing that I like. It's got a clicking drag, it's got an audible drag. It sounds silly, but I like it. I actually said it in a recent video when I was carp fishing with light gear with my trout rod. I said, who doesn't love the sound of a screaming drag that's going nee, 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 as the big carp was pulling the drag. You don't get that fun. That's fun, and you don't get that fun with a baitcaster reel because they don't have an audible drag. So it might not seem like much. It's certainly not a performance-based observation, but it is something to take into consideration. I like hearing the drag scream. And the biggest pro, or one of the biggest pros apart from not getting tangles, is that these spinning reels cast lighter gear, lighter lures. This is a native tubby minnow now, or tubby native minnow. I can cast it with my baitcaster, but with 50-pound line, this is just at that size where it's getting too small, and I find it hard to cast because I give it a fair few herbs to get it out there, and I hook the cast and the lure doesn't land where I want it. I can't cast it accurately, so I put it on this reel and it casts perfectly. This is a yellow belly lure. It will catch cod, but it's more of a yellow belly lure. So when I go yellow belly fishing, I'm more likely to grab this so that I can cast light little lures like this. Baitcaster reels don't cast light lures. Now you can put another spool on here and you can put lighter line on it, and you can convert that, even though it's a 4,000 size reel, you could still use that for trout and redfin. You could put a spare spool with 4-pound mono on it and cast Celtas and Super Vibraxes. Sure, you can put a spare spool in a baitcaster as well, and you can put 4-pound mono on there too, but you'll never be able to cast a really light trout gear. So it's versatile in the sense that you can put a spare spool on it, swap it over and turn it into a redfin rod, back to a cod rod at any given time. But for cod fishing, if you want to use a small lure like that, something that's small and light, the spinning reels will cast them a lot better than what the baitcaster reels will. Now back to the notepad. The cons. Why is the baitcaster better than the spinning reel? These aren't as accurate. I talk a lot about casting accuracy being one of the most important aspects of lure fishing, particularly Murray cod fishing. Quite often there'll be a lot of logs and I'll be eyeing off one little corner where a couple of logs merge and there's a little dark spot under the corner, and I'll want to get the lure right in under that corner. That is so much easier to do with a baitcaster reel, and that is the main attraction for these for a lot of people. Because accuracy is the most important thing, it makes sense to have a rod and reel that cast accurately. These do not cast as accurately. Some people are really clever and can put their finger on their spool like that and control it, because you see with the baitcaster you can use too much inertia or too many herds, too much gigawatts through the flux capacitor, whatever you want to call it. You can use too much go, but you can thumb the spool and stop the lure right where you want it to land. You can't really do that with these unless you're using two hands. It's just a lot more fiddly. It's much easier to do with that. So this is where these aren't as good. They're not as good for casting accuracy. They're also not as good for casting under overhanging vegetation. If you're in a waterway with willows or something that hang down, it's hard to get a really low flat cast under the vegetation. It's much easier with a baitcaster reel. So that's another con to the spinning reel, to the spinning setup. Now I don't know whether this is an actual con or not. It's something that doesn't feel right to me. I like the idea of the rod bending upside down when you hook a big fish. I honestly don't know. This rod, this is a Shimano, and it's rated 5 to 8 kilograms. This is a Venom, and it's rated 6 kilograms. It's rated to 6 kilograms. But I would feel much more comfortable with a 1.20 metre cod on this 6 kilogram Venom bent backwards than what I would with this Shimano bent forwards. There just seems to be something about the line sitting on the bottom of the eyelets and pulling the rod down that makes it feel stronger. As I said, I could have that wrong. I honestly don't know. It just feels, I would feel more comfortable reeling a big fish in with a heavy baitcaster rod than I would with a heavy spinning rod. But that's just me. Now what's next on the list? Now this is a bit of a hidden one, this one that a lot of people might not realise, and that is line tangles. I'll give you a good example. I've got one on this other rod here. This is my cod rod, this is my Venom. Now this has got a 70mm Coolabung lure. I use this a lot. This is one of my favourite Murray cod surface lures. When you cast it out, this particular lure is a shocker for it. When you cast it with a spinning rod, you get a lot more tangles, because these surface lures, because they've got such a wide bib, they wobble around like a dick in a gumboot flying through the air, and they don't land flat. And if the line lands on top of the lure, quite often when you reel it in, the hooks will catch the line and you'll tangle the lure up. Now when you're using one of these little Coolabungs with a spinning rod, you get a lot of tangles. It's noticeably different. You get a lot more tangles. What happens when you use a baitcaster? You cast it out and you're using a lot more grunt. It's going nice and flat, and then you put your thumb on, and what it does, it just helps to, I'll see if I can replicate it, it helps to pull it tight, then land the lure. With that, you don't pull it tight before it lands, it just lands and lands on itself. Sort of lands and lands on the line like that, then it reels in and gets tangled like that. But with one of these, because you're stopping it in the air with your thumb, it pulls it out nice and straight and lays it down flat. So that is one hidden benefit to using a baitcaster reel, is that you definitely do get a lot less tangles with Murray cod lures, particularly lures that are prone to drift around in the air because of their big white bibs, such as the Coolabung codwalker. Righto folks, we're nearing the end. Now, who are the spinning reels best suited to? People on a budget, because of the versatility. If you can't afford to have a good cod rod, a good yellow belly rod, a good redfin rod, you're better off to grab a spinning reel and a spare spool and putting light line on the spare spool. I could use this as it is. That's got 50-pound braid. Comfortably use it for Murray cod. I reckon even though it's a bit on the big side, if I was to put a spare spool on there with 6-pound monofilament, I could catch trout and redfin on this rod. I think that spinning rods are better for people. They're more versatile in that regard, so they're better for people on a budget. That'll allow you to buy one good rod and reel instead of a couple of cheaper ones. They're much suitable for unco people who are uncoordinate, and I know Straubs is going to hate me for this, but he is a classic example. I've never seen him use a baitcaster reel, and I don't know how he'd go, because his level of coordination isn't always on point, if you know what I mean. You need to be coordinated. You need to be, with a baitcaster reel, you need to be watching your lure. You need to have that coordination between your eyes and your thumb. Your brain's got to tell your thumb when to put the pressure down and stop the lure landing. It requires a bit of coordination. If you haven't got good coordination, you're likely to get a lot more tangles. So people who consider themselves a little bit unco might not like the baitcaster reel as much as the spinning reel. And they're also suited to people fishing in large waterways where you're casting blindly. Recently I made a video, I caught a little cod on a Damiki air frog surface lure, and I think the video was called Murray Cod Fishing Off a Sandbar. That's a huge big sandbar. You can just cast. I'm not actually aiming at logs. There's a lot of logs under the water that I can't see. It's big and deep. Just blind casting. I don't need casting accuracy. And I actually find that, sorry, this one here, the spinning reel, much better for that. It's just more relaxing because I don't have to worry about the lure hitting the water before I can thumb the spool and getting a bird nest. That's just relaxing. So they're very well suited for people fishing open water. The timber at Lake Mulwala, if you're casting surface lures around the timbered area out in the middle of Lake Mulwala, you might like this one much better because it's open. You don't need casting accuracy so much. If you go near the edges and you find little log jams and you want to get accurate with your casting, you probably want to look at a bait caster. So they're the people that are best suited to spinning reels. Unco people, people on a budget because they're versatile, and people in large open waterways. Now, where are they not suited? They're not suited to small overgrown waterways. Like a lot of the little tiny and skinny water that I fish for Murray cod, this isn't great because when you're in that sort of small water, you're really after casting accuracy. You want to get that lure in under the logs, into the real tight little corners, and that's a lot harder with a spinning reel than what it is with a bait casting reel. So it's definitely not as good in small water, and as I covered earlier, it's not as good when you've got vegetation over the trees. If you're in a small river with willows or just any sort of shrubs hanging over the sides and you want to cast under a low-lying branch or something, these are nowhere near as good. They're just not as good for that as what the bait casters are, because you need that momentum from the cast to flick up and just go under where you want it to go. Rightio, folks, well there you go, that's it. I hope I've got everything covered. I hope this gives you a bit of an understanding. I know there's probably things I haven't covered, but this is a bit of a basics. There's a lot more control over braking with a bait cast. You can get in and adjust your casting, brakes and all that sort of stuff, but that's sort of covered by the part that I mentioned about these being much easier to use. You don't have to worry about that. You can just adjust your drag. That's all you've got to worry about. So folks, they're both good. They've both got their place. There's areas where the spinning reel is better. There's areas where the bait caster reel is better. Hopefully this video has helped you make your mind up with which reel you want to go with. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this video, want to give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on, and then hopefully you can join me on my next adventure.